Hola y bienvenidos a la Daily Hustle. Soy Enrique Byrnes y presidente de su mejor cerveza. No abate por No Filter Network. Miguelito San Dieguito not with us today. Will the Thrill not with us today. But each and every single day we come on here, we, of course, properly salute our boys, with or without the foam fingers. Yes, 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 yes. Woo! Remember this, folks. When we are juiceful, we are useful. And when we are juiceless, we are fucking useless. A very pleasant good morning to you. Today's Daily Hustle quote of the day is going to be, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs. One of my favorites. And then, of course, right behind us, we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future. As we always do when we get here to Half Moon Bay, California, which is the location of today's Studio 22, we're going to celebrate some of the greatest bats of all time. I will walk you through my journey starting at 13 years old, where I swung this 32 and a half, 27 and a half maroon Easton. I don't even think it has a name. It just says Easton. But this is what I was playing senior league with. And then, if I'm not mistaken, my freshman year of high school, I swung the green Easton. That's right. This one here is 33 inches, 29 ounces. So this is actually, excuse me, I almost tripped over my own cord. This is a drop 4. And from the drop 4, I then went to the drop 3 classic 33-30 Easton Black Magic. Following that, it was like, okay, it's time to graduate to the 34-30. So back to the drop 4, 30 ounces. This one had some juice. This was the EA70. Looked a little bit like the Black Magic, but certainly was not the Black Magic. This one here then was the 34-31. Now we're back to the Black Magic. Yep. It went away for a minute, but 34-31, this is junior, senior year when all of a sudden I became a prospect, earned a Scally to UCLA, and then the final one here is a 34-31 high-performance alloy. Taper grip, I found it kind of interesting because I like to choke up just a tad. So that got me dialed. These are some relics. They are absolutely beautiful. And like I said, we celebrate each and every one of them as we do celebrate the Let Them Play, a parenting and coaching guide to use sportsbook, along with the F-It List, life lessons from a human crash test dummy. If you guys have not picked up either copy or the Daily Hustle 222 Unfiltered Life Guidance from a Human Crash Test Dummy, go to ericbyrnes.com, ERICBYRNES.com for all of your reading pleasures. And by the way, we are sponsored by Bet Online, the number one online betting destination. Get the latest news, scores, odds, updates. We got NBA Finals coming up, NHL Finals, MLB is in full swing. Enter the promo code BLEAV, capital BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit on your welcome bonus. All right. Now that we got all of that out of the way, the Giants sent down Luis Matos, a very controversial move. This is a player that just 2 weeks ago won the National League Player of the Week honors. He is young. He is electric. He has made some sick plays in the outfield. He has been an absolute joy to watch. So the question becomes, why would the Giants send this dude down? Now, Lee's already out for the season. The center field spot in San Francisco, in my opinion, is wide open. Now, Austin Slater came off the disabled list or the injured list, and that's why the move was made. But was Matos really the guy that they should have sent out? I don't know. I look, when you start diving into the numbers, they weren't pretty for Matos. He's 23 years old. He is actually hitting 224 with a 247 on base and a 329 slug. He has a 577 OPS, a 69 OPS plus, which is 31% below league average. Now, I get it. If you look at the overall stats, they're not great. But at the same time, it was just a couple weeks ago. I mean, May 18th, after his 6th RBI game, he had an 1,100 OPS. So we know what he's capable of doing. The problem with yo-yoing a guy like Luis Matos is that I'm not sure you're ever going to get to see him fulfill his potential unless he's given the opportunity to run. And when I mean run, I'm just not talking about 2-3 weeks, a month. We have to see what he does over the course of several months, because there's going to be the highs and there's going to be the lows. But to send him out on this low, it's tough. Look, Heliot Ramos and Luis Matos are two guys on the Giants that I really want to see play. They're two guys that I think have the potential to lead the charge into this next generation of good Giant teams. Now, the only way that's ever going to happen is if you give them the opportunity to fail. I get it. It's what have you done for me lately? Win now league. Will Clark, my partner in crime, was on KNBR this morning saying that he didn't love the decision either. And I'm with Will on this, because in order to play to the best of your ability, you have to be given that consistent opportunity. Now, you could try to make the argument that he was given the opportunity and, here was his window and it closed. Yeah, yes and no. I mean, holy shit. This guy put up some RBI numbers like we've never seen before. And the stat geeks will tell you, well, it's a team-dependent stat. He had a lot of opportunities with runners in scoring position. Look, Jermaine Guy told me this when I was with the A's, young buck, coming up, trying to make my way. He said, Bernsey, money lies in RBIs. And I took that to heart. And so every time I came up with an RBI opportunity, runner on third base, less than 2 outs, I took a lot of pride in getting that runner home. That's what wins games, scoring runs and driving in runs. So for somebody that wants to tell me it's a team-dependent stat, yada, 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 fuck off. RBIs matter. Luis Matos, for a minute there, was driving in runs at a record rate. So when you watch his approach at the plate, it looks like he has a really good load, setup, all of it. The question becomes, what is his approach? When he was having success, he was swinging at balls he could handle, and he wasn't missing them. He was driving these balls. He was laying off pitches out of his zone. Well, what happens too, and it happens a lot, when you start feeling really good at the plate, you expand your zone thinking that you can hit everything. And as soon as that starts, you're fucked, because you start swinging at balls. And if you want to have any success in this league, you got to take balls and swing at strikes. So is this the end of Luis Matos? I mean, no, not even close, right? We're judging him on 63 plate appearances. So from that moment in which he had that 6 RBI game and 1,100 OPS, he hit 153 with a 191 slugging percentage and a 150, with a 191 on base percentage and 153 slug, 10 strikeouts in 63 plate appearances, which isn't bad. And that's actually the number that I look at. And I'm like, okay. That is less than a 20% strikeout rate. Major league average is well above 20%. So he still was putting the ball in play, but there wasn't a whole lot of hard contact. It says here, making way for a more veteran right-handed bat. That is Austin Slater. Melvin said the conversation with Matos was really tough because he was so instrumental in the run that they had to get them back above 500. I mean, that was it, right? It was Ramos, it was Matos, it was the young guys leading the charge to get the Giants back to where, we all think they could be, or even better. Melvin said the parting words with Melvin offered to the young outfielder were, remember what he's accomplished here. And sometimes it's just a numbers game. It's as simple as that. Yes and no. I mean, you got to look at your fucking dudes. You have to decide who you're going to ride with, right? It can't be, well, hey, my girl and I had a little fight, so I'll just go pluck the next one. Like, no. Who's your ride or die? I'm looking at the Giants right now. Matos has the potential to be that. Is he that yet? I don't know. But he has the potential to be. And so for where they are now, unless they crawl back in this thing, I would be more focused on making sure that if we go down, I'm going down with my dudes. I'm going to go down with Ramos. I'm going to go down with Matos. I really, really, really like those guys. So we'll see what happens. Slater was, let's see here, 4 for 17 with a homer in his 5 rehab games in Sacramento. He is scheduled to be the starter in leading off against left-handed pitching. And Melvin said he would move things around when they face right-handers. So Luis Matos sent down, and yeah, I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that either. Will's direct quote, I'm going to read it from the text message that we got from Giuseppe Pepe Manuele this morning. He said, all right, this is Will Clark on the demotion of Luis Matos. Quote, not a big fan of that decision. I love Matos. He's going to be one of the future outfielders in this organization. Somebody gave me an opportunity. They stuck with me. I'm a big believer in that. You have to stick with the young guys. Okay. So there it is. My partner in crime, Will the Thrill, has spoken, and I am 1,000% behind him. Not just because he's my dude, but because I have been that guy who has been sent down. I went up and down 9 different times. It was fucking terrible. To be able to try to get into a groove was awful. Now, the one thing Matos does have going for him was that when he was here, he was playing. I was going up and down, and I was coming up, and then all of a sudden, I'm sitting my ass on the bench, and I get sit down, and I go play, and I come up, I sit on the bench. That is not very fun at all. It's sort of a Baltimore Orioles situation right now with a lot of their young guys who are killing it in AAA, and then they come up, and they're not necessarily getting the time to keep that groove going. So as somebody who went through that, that's very difficult. The one thing I do know as a young player, he's got to play. He's got to play. So if he's not playing at the big league level, you have to get him those reps in Sacramento. I would tell you this. If he goes down there and gets hot, and any of the Giants outfielders struggle, I'm bringing him back up. The guy is electric. The catch he made against the center field wall was next fucking level. He had several plays that just were unbelievable. As a former outfielder who made a living by diving for shit, it's very rare where I get taken aback when I see the efforts of somebody else. I'm like, wow, that's a fucking dude. Luis Matos is a fucking dude. So to have that sort of passion, energy, and effort that he plays with on a daily basis that rub off on the other guys, yes, we need that. So this is put up or shut up time as far as I'm concerned with all these San Francisco Giants outfielders. This is your opportunity because you're going to have a guy like Matos sitting in AAA. You better be producing at the big league level tremendously. Now, again, part of this is on Matos. He's got to take care of his own business, and hitting 220 with a 2-something on base percentage and 3-something slug, it's just not going to cut it, not at the big league level. Does he have to be 800 OPS guy, in absolutely slot? No, he's a premier defensive center fielder. So think of him almost like a Matt Chapman, where I'll take a 750 OPS from a Luis Matos and be totally happy with it and ride his hot streaks like you do with Chapman. But at the same time, this is somebody, as a San Francisco Giants fan, as someone who's watched this team since I was, 2 years old, like this is a guy I want to see on the field. This is a guy, when I go to the stadium, like I'm rooting for him to be in the lineup. So for the Giants just to go back to AAA, you don't want to yo-yo these guys too much. You just don't want to. They did it with Matt Williams way back when, and we got to go back and look at those stats. But I remember Will telling me about it, and at one point we did go and see him. But it was Matt Williams when he got sent back to AAA. He just absolutely destroyed AAA like never before. So I'm hoping Luis Matos takes that same attitude down to AAA and go prove him wrong. That's it. That's all you can do. Because there is a point when I would get sent down, and there was only one time where I had a shit attitude. It wasn't good. And I was struggling mightily. And Bob Guerin, the manager at the time, who's now the bench coach for the Dodgers, is like, dude, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know, man. I just, I was the last cut. It was like 2002, I believe. I was the last cut. I just gotten back from Dominican, won an MVP award there. I did everything they wanted me to do. I just don't feel like there's any more I can do here. Like, if I have a good game, like, it's not, where's the motivation in it? I was ready for the next level. And I had this, for the first time in my life, I had this feel sorry for me attitude. And Bob's like, look, man, he goes, and Bob was my manager in Dominican too when I won that MVP. He goes, there's nothing you can do about it. He goes, nothing I can do about it. I know you should be there. You know you should be there. He goes, take a couple days off and then go out, and when you get back in that lineup, be the fucking player I know you are, and you're going to be back in the big leagues in no time. I said, I got you, Bob. I'm sorry, man. So I sat there that night, and we were in Nashville. And I remember the team just going off. I mean, we scored 10, 15 runs, and I had to sit there and watch it. I think it was one of the first and only games I ever sat, and I wasn't in the lineup in my entire minor league career. And I was going to get the second day off. And I actually showed up at the stadium super early because I wanted back in so badly. And I needed to get there before Bob Guerin got there to let him know that I didn't want to sit another game. And so sure enough, I got there, waited for Bob. Bob comes in. I said, Bob, I want in the lineup. He goes, Byrnesy, come on, man. Like, take another day off. Like, this, that. I'm like, Bob, I want in. He goes, dude, it's Bronson Arroyo. And at the time, Bronson Arroyo is like mid-90s, nasty slider righty. I go, Bob, I want in. He goes, all right, you want him, you got him. So put me back in the lineup against Bronson Arroyo. 3 hits, a homer, killed it. Next thing you know, went off for the next 7 days in a row. Got called back up in the big leagues. Never saw the minor leagues again. Took an attitude change, though. It took me realizing how grateful I am to have the opportunity to play professional baseball, whether it was in AAA or in the big leagues. There's certain shit in life you just can't control. So for Luis Matos, dude, certain things you can't control, certain things you can't. One thing you can't control right now is going down to AAA in Sacramento and fucking killing it. So go get him, and hopefully we will see him back up here ASAP. All right, a couple of things that I want to get to before I roll on. I'm taking biscuit surfing today. This is a real kind of interesting story. So Ty Cobb, with the decision to allow the Negro League numbers to count as Major League Baseball numbers, he no longer is the batting average leader. And apparently it's created some sort of controversy. But it says a group blocks Ty Cobb's relative for defending the Negro League's decision. The backlash from Major League Baseball's announcement last week that it was absorbing the Negro League statistics into the game's official historical record was almost immediate in a Facebook fan group that Cindy Cobb helped nurture. Cobb, 67, is the granddaughter of Ty Cobb, the baseball legend and lifetime 367 hitter who is displaced in the new record book as MLB's career batting average champion by Negro League greats Josh Gibson, who hit 372 for his 16-year career. Gibson is also MLB's new leader in on-base plus slugging percentage. So in OPS, I mean, that's huge. And slugging percentage, replacing Babe Ruth. The changes were more than many people in the 2,600-plus member official Ty Cobb fan group could abide. They railed against them in their private Facebook fan page. Cobb said the critics argued that Negro League statistics were unreliable. Their stars played fewer games and went up against inferior competition. This action is by far the most drunken farce that I've ever witnessed in professional sports. A person identified as Wesley Fricks, a self-described Ty Cobb historian who controls the fan page, recently named official Ty Cobb Legacy Group, posted on Ty Cobb Athenaeum, other Cobb fan page shortly after the MLB announcement. Cindy Cobb fought back, arguing in her post that her grandfather, who was in the Hall of Fame's inaugural 1936 class, would have embraced the changes. She added that it was undeniable that ball players from the Negro Leagues enjoyed a few of the privileges afforded to her grandfather. For that, Cobb asserted she was kicked out of the group on June 1st, 3 days after the MLB announcement. The swift negative reaction on social media underscored the unwillingness of some fans to recognize updated statistics as one way of righting the segregationist wrongs of the past. Whether they are representative of a larger segment of society remains unclear, but the fact that they were so willing to state their views openly and retaliate against someone offering an opposing view suggests there is a lot more work to be done. Cindy Cobb neglected to make copies of her post, but did manage a screenshot of one of the sharp responses she received. Quote, "So, some nimwit loser who was willing to support giving away Cobb's hard-earned titles due to wokeness got the boot," one member wrote. Good riddance. The fan page's postings are closed to outsiders, so there was no way to know which way the conversation went after she was blocked. Cobb, who lives in New York State, said she was left wounded by the reaction. I quote, "I made a post speaking of the inequities of the past, saying that because my grandfather was a white man playing MLB, he had the opportunities that black men did not have," she said in a phone interview. "Then I was harassed and verbally abused." Fricks, who Cobb said is administrator of the Facebook page, did not respond to several requests from ESPN. Cobb said the vitriol has been painful to endure. She has worked for years to support the Facebook group in part to broaden the image of her grandfather, who's widely remembered as a dirty ball player and a racist, which Cobb and others call inaccurate. Those who are using her family's name to voice their displeasure with adding Negro League statistics to the baseball record books, Cobb contends, only serve to bolster what she calls an unfair memory of her grandfather. Quote, I'm really disgusted with the way people are receiving this, Cobb said. It just isn't who we are as a family. Despite Ty Cobb's tremendous on-the-field achievements, his legacy has been marred since his death in 1961. He was said to have been hated by teammates and opponents alike, a violent brawler on the field who would sharpen his spikes to a razor's edge to injure infielders who tried to tag him out of the base pass. Ken Burns' epic 1994 documentary, Baseball, summed up the prevailing view of Cobb, calling him, quote, an embarrassment to the sport. But Cindy Cobb believes her grandfather's off-field legacy has been unjustly tarnished, a point of view echoed in Ty Cobb, A Terrible Beauty, a well-received biography by Charles Lerchian, published in 2015. The book debunks some of the most horrible stories linked to Cobb, including that he pistol-whipped and otherwise assaulted several black men simply because of their color of their skin. Cobb has praised early black baseball stars, including Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Roy Campanella. He also spoke in favor of integration in the sport in 1952, 5 years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. The Negro should be accepted wholeheartedly and not grudgingly. Cobb told the Sporting News in 1952, the Negro has a right to play professional baseball, and who's to say he has not? Cindy Cobb said that part of her grandfather's character was that she wants more baseball fans to appreciate. Let there be no doubt that he applauded the achievements of all players. Okay. I mean, look, I have no idea what exactly Ty Cobb was like. I have seen Cobb the movie.